Good afternoon, attendees, panelists. My name is Shamika Leacock with the James Beard Foundation. I serve as the Associate Director of Community here at the Foundation. We welcome you to this month's Queer All Year webinar series in collaboration with the Queer Food Foundation. This is one of my favorite series to participate in, and I always look forward to the conversations that we have over the course of the year. This month's webinar is focusing on queer restaurateurs, and so I want to take the time again to thank you for spending the next hour with us. A little bit about the James Beard Foundation. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to celebrate, support, and elevate the people behind America's food culture and champion them with the standard of good food anchored in talent, equity, and sustainability. If you're interested in learning more about our JBF programs, I encourage you to visit our website at jamesbeard.org. You can learn more about our different events and initiatives as well. Uh, I'm happy to introduce to you Vanessa Parrish, chef, co-founder, and executive director of the Queer Food Foundation, who will kick things off.
Thanks, Shamika. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm very excited about this panel. We've been having some really good conversations this year, and so I'm really excited to see how this one elevates our education. But we've got some really great things happening at Queer Food Foundation coming up within the year. It's also holiday season, so we'll be having our Queer Food gift guide coming out in a few weeks. So please look out for that. But Deborah VanTrece is a legend well, not even in the making, is just a legend in general in the hospitality industry. And so I'm really excited for her to lead us in this conversation. So I hope you all enjoy.
Hello, everyone, and definitely hi to all our panelists. Special thank you to you guys for being here, spending some time with us. So I want to start it out by having each of you introduce yourself and tell us something that maybe we don't know about you. So Blake, let's get started with you.
Hi, I'm Blake Cole. I'm the owner of Friends and Family Bar and Restaurant in Oakland, California. Something you might not know about me is wow, on the spot here. My queer journey started later. I got married to a man when I was 24, and I did not come out until I was 27. So that's something that a lot of people are very surprised to hear and don't know.
That's a good one. How about you, Chef Greg?
Good afternoon. My name is Gregory León. I'm the chef and owner of Melinda, three-time James Beard nominee, restaurants in downtown Milwaukee. It's something that people might not know about me. I once traveled to Angel Falls in Venezuela.
Oh, wow. All righty. Chef Eric, where are you at?
Hey everybody, I'm Eric C. I'm the chef and owner of Ursula in Brooklyn, New York. I was born and raised in Albuquerque, New Mexico before moving out to New York 14 years ago. I'm gonna rock with Blake's coming out journey. I almost joined the military when I was 18, but instead I dropped out of college and moved to West Hollywood to be a flaming gay baby.
Okay, this is going to be fun. Yeah, so Blake, I did read a little bit about you. And first, want to congratulate you on being named one of the best top 50 bars of the world. That is not a simple feat. And I was hoping you would share
North America. North
yeah,
America.
Whatever. That is a major deal. I got an opportunity a few years ago to hang out with the bar people and travel to Paris, France with a few of them. So, you know, the inside story of what it takes to get there is pretty intense. So congrats to you for that. So I wanted to make sure I added that little piece in there too. All right. So I have a couple more questions that are a little intense. And then we want to also make sure that our guests, if you've got questions too, to just feel free to put them in the chat because we're going to have a little Q&A at the end of this. But, you know, I know too as a member of the community and, you know, a owner of restaurants, chef, you know, there's certain things that we have to deal with that sometimes are a little bit out of the ordinary. Sometimes they're a little bit unexpected. You know, so my question, and whoever wants to answer this, please do. But what is the thing or a memory that you have of something that has happened to you during, you know, your career in this industry that you thought would break you, you know, but it did not break you. You were able to overcome. And I know with some of us, it's many things that sometimes come up that we think will break us, you know, but what things, or what one thing that is at the top of your memory that you thought would break you and it didn't? And even if you can elaborate more and tell us, how did you overcome it? How did you make do with that? Who wants to go? Come on,
I'll go
Chef Greg.
first. During the pandemic, at the end of September, beginning of October, my business partner, who also happened to be my husband, came to me and said that he no longer wanted to be married and that he no longer wanted to be involved in the restaurant. So that was a lot to deal with during the pandemic. Several weeks after he left, I discovered that there had been some financial mismanagement in the restaurant. And I discovered that the restaurant was about $120,000 in the and so imagine discovering that and having your spouse tell you he didn't want to be with you anymore, and you're in the middle of a pandemic, so you're making a quarter of what you normally would make. So I thought there were many days when I sat in this exact spot, pulling my hair out and crying and calling my friend Caitlin Cullen, who's also a chef here in Milwaukee, and telling her, I'm like, I'm done. I'm shutting this place down. I'm done. I can't do this. And the only thing she would say to me is like, you don't want to go work for anybody else. Remember that. And so, you know, here we are, open. It's all been paid off. But that was the one thing that I thought was really gonna break me in half. But you know, it didn't. Yeah. We had a lot of good support from the community, from fellow chefs in town, a lot of our purveyors, farmers. So we were able to persevere, and here we are.
Cool. That's really good. That's really good. I think sometimes other people see us in these positions and think, you know, it was an easy journey to get to where we are. And I think it's helpful for them to know that, you know, sometimes we've fallen and we've had things to overcome too.
One of the things that, you know, and I've talked to some other colleagues here in Milwaukee about it, is that, you know, when we're looking at other restaurants, you know, we go in there to eat at our friends' restaurants. They're busy, they look happy. We don't know what's going on behind the scene. And so when, at least for me, these times when we're having a hard time, you know, maybe we're having some staffing issues, or maybe our finances aren't the best because we've had a slow month. We're like, oh, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? I'm the only one going through this. And then to talk to them and be like, no, we're in the same boat.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want your friends and your colleagues to be stressed and suffer, but it does help to know that you're not the only one going through these struggles, and that everybody has a struggle.
Yeah, definitely. Eric, how about you?
Well, I feel like I could answer this like every 3 months, to be honest. And this summer was one of those as well. But yeah, there's been a few times. One of them, before I opened Ursula, I had a cafe and bakery called The Awkward Scone, and a catering company. But prior to that, I was doing pop-ups under the moniker The Awkward Scone, building up to build out a brick and mortar retail of The Awkward Scone. And actually, it was a Pride event that almost broke me. I had been asked to be part of Pride Fest here in New York, and I hadn't really been part of any of these like big festivals, especially none where you paid exorbitant amounts to participate in. But the organizers had convinced me that it was going to be a good deal. They were like, well, there's 300,000 to 400,000 people that come through to this event. You're going to get lots of visibility. And I was like, okay, well, that's one thing, but how many people are actually here buying things, and like what am I intending to make to sell? And they were like, well, we tell our vendors to prep to sell to 10,000 people. And I was like, oh shit. So if I'm spending this much money to participate, I'm going to make it back easy peasy. Even if I'm being modest and I only prep for 3,000, like that's good money. So I was like, I'm in. One of my friends also booked a booth and she set up to do the same thing. Um, and I spent a whole week prepping Italian rainbow cakes in the rainbow, uh, full rainbow flag spectrum, 3,000 cakes. I had like whole 33-gallon trash cans full of different teas and drinks that we were doing. I paid to have ice delivered. My parents flew in from New Mexico. I spent thousands of dollars to put this event together. And once we set up, we were also situated next to Chipotle, who had this like spin wheel to win a free burrito, which was like their line was blocking our booth the whole time. So you couldn't even see our booth because people were waiting to have a chance to win a free burrito or a free sticker. And we sold maybe like $400 the whole weekend, and I spent about $5,000 to put it on. And what they didn't, and it same, my friends had a dessert catering company and they made like gourmet popsicles, and they were situated next to TD Bank, who was giving away popsicles. What they didn't tell any of us was that they tell you to prep for 10,000 people to give things away to, not to sell things to, but to like have enough stuff for 10,000 people to give away, not to sell to. And I lost $4,000 on that event. And this is when I was still like bootstrapped out of my own bank account, still trying to build everything from the ground up. And it almost broke me mentally. It definitely wiped out my bank account. My parents had to pay my rent at my apartment the next month. Thankfully, I had them to help me out and to keep me grounded. I sent a very strongly worded letter to the organizers, to them, about how they disseminate this information to vendors, and also some solutions on how they can move forward in the next year to help advocate for small businesses and small queer-owned businesses and actually support them. They didn't really want to hear all that. They were like, well, that's how we do this. So I actually don't have a lot of faith in the big corporate pride events anymore, but that almost broke me. And I lost my catering business and my cafe at the beginning of the pandemic. I also had a similar business partnerships situation, not a husband or romantic partnership as Chef Greg did, but also another dishonest partnership that somebody was keeping a lot of financial information from me as well. But we go through it, and then we keep going through it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lesson for anyone listening: know that these festivals, at the end of the day, they are a business, and they are there to make money.
They're there to make money.
They're there to make money first. I've had a similar situation too with the same type of thing, and now I understand how it works, and it is something that I think a lot of people get excited about going into, because you're invited and you think, wow. But the whole picture is usually not laid out in front of you.
Once they get to a certain point, they're just trying to take advantage. They're just trying to make their money.
They're trying to make their money. Yeah. Off of us, you know. How about you, Blake?
Well, like Eric said, maybe not even every 3 months. I feel like it's every 3 weeks, really. I started building, my restaurant was a full build out. So obviously that process is already very challenging. But we, after like a 2.5-year process of building out, doing the permits, doing all of that, we got our final inspection at the bar the same day that shelter in place hit. So after 2.5 years of building my dream, it literally was like,
shut down.
I had to fire my entire staff that I just trained for 2 months. Nobody knew who I was. Nobody knew what the business was. I was very, very much in the hole financially. And basically the first 6 months of the bar was me and like one of my friends selling cocktails in a plastic cup to go. And the emotional turmoil of that was obviously crazy. We were lucky enough to like have an amazing community response to keep us going.
Mhm.
I will say that, you know, about a year in, when we were finally like, we were actually putting drinks in glassware and we were serving food on plates and people could come into the bar and see it, what we'd been working on for so long. And that's when, what was it, like Delta or Omicron hit or something, and all of a sudden it was like all over again. That was when like a real shift for me happened, and I was like, I don't know that I can do this. And so that's, you know, everybody has a COVID tale, you know, like it was ours was particularly difficult just because of our timing of it. But I'd say, you know, as with any business owner, the challenges are, you never know what they're going to be. And when you have a project that's so personal and such a reflection of yourself, it's hard to handle some of the challenges because it feels like personal failings, or it feels like, you know, everything is a representation of myself. And so, it makes the decisions that should just be like straightforward business decisions a little bit tougher. And at the end of last year, out of nowhere, my chef decided that they were done, that they wanted to leave, that they wanted to take a step back from everything, because it had just been, you know, so much over the last couple of years. And the business at that point, I mean, Oakland, everybody that I knew that owned a restaurant had closed in the last 6 months. You know, Oakland has taken a huge hit and like just not come back from COVID, basically. And I was like, I can't tell you how many times I've had to make the choice of either taking another loan out, finding more money, or closing it all down. And I will say that with friends and family, in those moments of like really questioning what the hell am I doing, it kind of, for me, it comes down to like, well, I employ all these people. This place means something to people. In those moments, I always have to think about like everything that's bigger than myself and be like, I owe it to those people to at least keep trying. And luckily, like I have an amazing new chef who's incredible. And like the restaurant is going through this like entire new resurgence, which is really exciting. But I'm definitely not the same person that I was, you know, after experiencing those things so many times. I'm such a different person. And as much as I'm enjoying a moment right now, I'm like so cautious of what is right around the corner, and hopefully not too right around the corner, but I'm prepared.
There's always something right around the corner.
There's always something there. I don't want to walk
good
around
or
there.
bad. Be it good or bad.
Yeah,
but I think Blake, it really says a lot too. I think it's so cool. You know, I was reading about you, and it's the daily affirmations. Is that what I read, and how you're donating a part of that? And I think within the industry, and within our communities and our culture, we are so willing to give back. You know, we're always thinking about the other person, no matter what. And I think that's what makes that hospitality industry what it is, you know, we think about how we're going to do it, but somewhere along the line, we always, you know, for me, I seem to even get more motivated when I realize the responsibilities that come with the blessings that I have, you know, and how do I give back, or how do I bring someone else along? And all of you, you know, I've read a little bit about everyone, and I think you all are doing an amazing job with that. Blake, please tell the people, Greg, you also, and Eric, I want everyone to know some of the things that you've done or do within your community just to give back. Because I think it's some pretty special things that everybody has going on, you know, be it small, be it large, you know, opening your doors and giving us a safe place, a safe haven to be in. I think it's so important. And it comes with a lot, you know, it comes with a lot. And trying to make it, you know, inclusive, you know, sometimes is real challenging, you know, very much so. You know, but if you could all explain, Gregory, what do you have going on right now that you'd love to share with us?
So a few of the things that we do when we open the restaurant, is we allow other business owners, people who are starting off their career, to come do pop-ups here. When I moved to Milwaukee, nobody knew who I was. I'd never cooked here. I had no friends. And if it wasn't because Nell Benton of the National opened her restaurant to me and allowed me to do a pop-up, Melinda as a pop-up for a year, I was able to then, get a following and make some money and open up Melinda as a brick and mortar. So that's one of the things we do. We open our restaurant, let other people do pop-ups here. During the pandemic, we started a program called Hungry Hearts, where there was a list of 10 different restaurants. Each restaurant, we would rotate. So every Saturday, 3 restaurants would make and deliver 100 meals. Through donations, we would pay those restaurants $1,000, and then we would distribute them. And we distribute the food to people in need. That program lasted about 2 years, and we gave out, I think, close to 50,000 meals and raised a little bit over $400,000, which we gave back to the restaurants. And then one of the other programs that I love is called Tables Across Borders. And so we invite refugees who have just moved to Milwaukee to come cook at Melinda for a night. They take over the restaurant. They do all the cooking. They cook the food of their homeland. We sell tickets, and then 100% of the ticket sales goes to those families so they can get a foothold in starting their new lives here in Milwaukee.
Oh,
and we get to learn how they cook, and we get to try some amazing food from all over the world.
Yeah, and get some fresh ideas sometimes too, right?
Totally, yeah. It's really interesting to see how different cultures will use some of the same ingredients that we use, how they use it. It's very eye-opening.
Yeah. Eric?
Similarly to Chef Greg, we had in the past 3.5 years previous, we've been now open for 4 years. The space had been open to other queer chefs to be able to use as a platform for their own culinary ventures at no cost to them. I had to take a little bit of a break from that while we got our footing, because normally that also took a lot of my time, because part of that was me volunteering my time to be here to save them the money and staffing. And I had to take a little bit of a break for my own physical and mental health. I think that we often forget to center our own needs while we try to take care of our community as well.
Yes.
And I found myself running really empty this year in my own cup. But this year, we've spent a lot of time with the Ali Forney Center, as I have been over the last 6 years, helping raise funds and advocating for that organization. It's America's largest transitional housing center for LGBTQ plus homeless youth. And also we've done burrito collabs with other chefs from around the country, and donate a portion of those sales to their selected organizations. This weekend, we just raised money for Mecca for Peace to help send money to a humanitarian aid organization providing food and housing to children and families in Gaza and Lebanon, to this Take Care of Home. It's an organization in Ethiopia helping build schools and build waterways that was chosen by Farial Abdullahi, who's a chef here in New York. She's on the board for that organization. And then also the Sahudari Foundation in India. It's India's pioneer organization for trans and non-binary folks in India. So that was our focal point over the last few months with those organizations. But generally, we spend a lot of time with the Ali Forney Center here in New York. We're about to be part of their annual Serve Dance-a-thon, which this will be our 3rd year participating. It's a huge fundraiser. They raised $500,000 last year.
Wow. Yeah, isn't it amazing, you guys, all of the things that we do in this industry for others? I
think I think it's really incredible, because this is like the food, the hospitality, the restaurant industry is probably like one of the least profitable, lowest margin,
Yeah.
hardest working industries, yet
Yes.
it's the first to activate in time
Yeah.
of need every
Yeah.
single time.
Yeah. Yeah. Good way to put it. Blake, tell us about daily affirmations and other things you're doing.
Yeah.
I just thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I came up with daily affirmation a couple of years ago. We have done, it's always great to like work with a brand to put on, certain happy hours where we raise
Yes.
money
Yeah.
and all these things. I kind of kept getting into some personal conundrums with like working with some big spirit companies. Cause I'm like, great, you're gonna give me $5,000, but the CEO of your company gave Trump $100 million, like
Yeah.
I kept getting into these conundrums and
Yeah.
I was like, what can we do just like every day on a small scale and kind of take out the middleman to just directly, it's kind of like flagging on our menu, so you come in, you read about the daily affirmation. Let's say you're not within the queer community or it's the first time there. It's kind of an understanding of like, oh, this is what this space believes in. This is something that they care about. And so it's a nice little like, hey, this is a little bit about our vibe. And essentially what it is that it's a mini cocktail that bartenders come up with every day or for the week, and 100% of the sales from the daily affirmation every month goes to a different person who is either has like a GoFundMe or is raising funds for any sort of gender affirming care, surgery, et cetera, et cetera. We don't go through organizations. We just give the money to
Give them the money. Yeah.
and it's like a no questions asked. We don't need to know what you did. Just like, here you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
We, in our time, like similar to what Eric said about, obviously putting our own mental health and like time and well-being has been an interesting thing to navigate. And the bar has never been profitable. Like we are not a profitable business. It has been crazy.
Yeah.
So we like don't get a lot of opportunity, to like donate a lot of things because it's very financially difficult for us. However, there's such a power in just like having a physical space that anytime I could just give the physical space to people, that's kind of our MO. We're closed one day a week, and essentially we kind of brand that day as like, you want to put it on an event, the bar is yours for that day, like go for it. And I've really encouraged a lot of my staff members to, we had a staff member, Angel, who was amazing, who started Queer Storytime, which Angel's a poet and a writer, and essentially turned the bar into this like kind of writing poetry sanctuary once a quarter. And they would always raise funds for different organizations that they believed in or funds that they believed in. And it just became this like queer safe haven for people to express themselves. And they were just a bartender at the bar who just like wanted to do this every once in a while. And we've had other bartenders put on queer cumbia nights and essentially things that are queer focused events for an demographic of people that they were interested in or a subject they were interested in. And I just kind of am there to like help guide them and then let them take the wheel and steer, if you will. And Chef Gabby is our chef, and she's incredible. And she works really closely with different organizations through the Foodwise and the San Francisco Farmers Market, but she has always put herself out there for queer and trans people who want to stage in the kitchen, who maybe that's not a super safe space in a lot of traditional restaurants for them to be themselves. And Gabby is this super accomplished, incredible chef. And she has always just been like, open arms, come in, learn from me, in like a safe place where you'll be yourself and, just like come and learn. And that's something that has been, since she's come in, that's been really incredible to kind of see. And then sometimes they end up coming working for us, and it's great.
Yeah.
I just want to piggyback a little bit off of what Blake said about like the corporate money and sponsorship, because I also find like an obligation of privilege of access to some of that as well, because I'm like very careful about what money I take or from who. but also understanding the privilege of access and the redistribution and reallocation of those kinds of funds. So especially during Pride Month, when all this money is all of a
Starts,
sudden
yeah,
accessible to
yeah.
us.
Everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon. Yeah.
Yeah, I work extra hard to try to get as much of that money to redistribute, to open up our house, to be able to bring in other chefs. And I'm like, give me your sponsorship money so that I can pay these queer chefs to be in here. And I'll say that Bento Box is actually a James Beard partner. They're always really good about partnering on these events, and they helped sponsor a trans chef from Austin, Texas, to come do this really beautiful Tex-Mex dinner at our restaurant for Pride Month. And that's that kind of like obligatory action that I think that we have as restaurant owners and bar owners, because we have that access to that privilege. And so that's one of the things, especially during those seasons, that I try to do. It's like, if I know that I can get a little bit of money from this liquor company for this event, then I'm like, give me that money so that I can put it in these queer pockets. Give me that money. I'm gonna give it to them, or I'm gonna fly this person out, let them have their little queer dream of cooking in New York.
That's amazing. That's pretty cool. Okay, so this is a question I get asked all the time. And sometimes it kind of stumps me. So, first of all, I do soul food, that's my thing, right? So I'll get the question, what is soul food? And I've got, my eloquent answer for that. But the question, what is queer food, is the one that stumps me. I'm like, okay, well, what do you want me to say? It's a rainbow cake. I don't really know what it is you want me to say, what is queer food? So when we're talking about, for me, it goes a little bit further than, a type of cuisine. I don't think that's what the term means. But for each of you, what do you think of when people ask you, well, what is queer food? I'm sure someone's asked you. Tell me that somebody's asked you that, right?
Nobody's ever asked me
get
that.
out. No, oh my gosh!
I mean,
I'm
I'm also in the Midwest, so they're not coming to ask me those kind of questions a lot. I don't know what my answer. I've never had to think about that.
Yeah. How about you, Blake? Has anyone ever asked you?
I mean, people ask me, I'm not a chef, so questions that I get asked are less food specific.
Yeah.
But I like to kind of brand our business and what we do as queer hospitality.
Yeah.
Which Eric can speak to. We were on a panel, was it last year, 2 years ago? Something
Last
like that.
summer.
Last summer, about what is queer hospitality and what does that even mean? Does that have a distinct definition? Is that just our new branding opportunity? I don't know what that is. But I mean, I don't know that I can even define it. It is definitely an evolving thing. I just like to say that, like, in our space, and for Gabby when it comes to her food, for me when it comes to the cocktails or the service structure, or when it comes to the training manuals, when it comes to, the questionnaires that we write for new staff that are applying, like every single thing that we do, our queerness and our stories and what influence us are infused in that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's just kind of like a natural evolution of what it is. And it's not something where we're like, oh, we're a restaurant where we just like happen to be all queer working here. It's like, no, we are proud, and it's a part of the experience. And we believe that our queer stories and our lived experiences are infused into everything that we do.
Yeah. I tell people it's gumbo. That's what it is.
It's gumbo.
It's gumbo.
That's right. Yes.
No, I agree. It's something that's sometimes difficult to put in words. But it's a feeling of comfort still. It is another version of soul food, in my opinion.
For chef.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No. I want to hear.
Well, for chefs, often like what's on the plate is a representation of their journey, of their story. And so in the same vein, it's an identity. that's on the plate, and that's your queerness is showing up on your plate. So it's your journey that's on your plate, and it's your fluidity, it's your duality that's on your plate. And so I think that a lot of queer food is a fluidity between like a masculine and feminine presentation on a plate. It's in your design of your restaurant or the ceramics that you choose for your plate. It's everything that is part of the hospitality that Blake was talking about. It's about the ingredients that you choose, about the way that you prioritize the spirits that you're selecting, that they're coming from Black and POC and Indigenous and queer or worker cooperative owned spirit companies. And it's about being fluid and evolving and not ever being rigid in its structure. Because when you look at what the identity of food culture generally stands for, it's masculine driven, and it's like this is the way that it is always, and it's like constantly being regurgitated and replicated without any kind of fluidity, without any kind of mixing of feminine and masculine energy. And I think that queer food blends all of that.
Yeah, gumbo, I'm telling you.
Gumbo.
Gumbo. There's times, you know, I've done so many things, and I think we all have been on the panels, we've done this, you know, even the fact that we are here, you know, in this place today, and we're talking about our journeys and our experiences. But how do you deal with the naysayers, the people who will say to you, well, I don't really care, you know, who's cooking my food. I don't really care whose restaurant, as long as it's good, you know, so why are we even talking about this? You know, I've had that happen, and it's such a pushback. The first time it happened, I was, you know, just kind of in shock that someone, you know, actually vocalized that. I don't know why I was in shock, because, you know, a lot of things people say are definitely unsolicited, you know, but the idea that you're saying it, for me, is the reason why I talk about it, because, you know, it is, if you knew anything about us, our journey, sometimes it has not been easy, and it has been a little bit different maneuvering, because we are a minority. But to get pushback, you know, or negativity, because we have places where we speak about it, we do talk about it. How do you all feel about hearing, you know, that kind of pushback, hearing those things, you know, from general public or people who don't obviously understand, but think that it's necessary for them to make that comment? You know, it doesn't matter, you know, but hell, let them walk in and you're in the middle of a drag show and see how quick they spin on their heels and walk out, you know, because now they don't want to eat here, you know? So have you heard things like that? And what's your pushback? How do you know, do you say anything? Do you, you know, just keep moving ahead? What do you do?
We, so this past summer, we had, during Pride Month, we had 2 back-to-back articles come out. One was kind of a profile that one of the local newspapers was doing on queer business owners in Milwaukee. And before I go any further, I have to say Milwaukee, for being in a purple state, has been incredible. Like, I've never felt threatened. I've never felt like the fact that I'm gay and that I employ the majority of gay people work here, and never have felt that like that was an issue, never, until this summer. And so they wrote this article, and then there was another article about a week later when we did this dinner that Vanessa was at, actually, where it was a collab dinner with all queer chefs from Milwaukee. And, you know, I tend to stay away from reading the commentary online, because it just can be really, really just not a very pleasant experience. And for some reason, I decided that I was going to go read the commentary. And I was pretty shocked by some of the stuff people were saying. You know, there was a lot of like, I don't care who cooks my food. You know, can we shout out to the straight chefs? There were a few very unsavory comments about people not wanting to come and eat here because they were afraid they were going to get HIV and AIDS. Like stuff that I was really, really shocked and at first, my first instinct is to be, oh, I'm going to respond. Like, I'm going to fight with these people. And I have both my friend who does our PR and my friend who does our social media was like, just put your phone down and just walk away, and then let what you do and let your food and let, the environment that you've created for your employees speak for themselves. So that's what we did. We just kind of like walked away, and, those people were never going to come in and eat at the restaurant anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I realized that commentary probably comes from a place of insecurity and self-hate and self-doubt. And so we just kind of, let them scream and yell, and we just continue to put out good food and create a space for everybody to enjoy and be safe in.
Do you believe restaurants should disclose that they are queer owned and operated?
I don't think we should, but I don't think we shouldn't either. Like,
I'm like, if you ask, I'm going to tell you.
Oh yeah, of course. When we opened on Melinda, again, being in Milwaukee, being in the Midwest, we're very careful to that wasn't what we led with. Oh, this is a queer restaurant. It's owned by a queer chef and his husband. That was not how we introduced ourselves.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something that we hid. You came into the restaurant, especially when my partner was still here. You obviously knew we were married and we owned the restaurant. I mean, anybody who comes across me and meets me on a daily basis is going to know I'm gay just by speaking to me. But we were a little cautious, and I think in 2018, finally, it's just like, I don't care. If they're not going to come and eat here because the chef and owner is gay, then we don't want them here.
Yeah.
Now we every Pride we put all our flags out, and we do a Pride brunch, and we do a dinner we did with Vanessa. So, and I would like to think that because of the actions we've done and we've taken, maybe made it a little more comfortable for other queer chefs here in Milwaukee, and hopefully maybe change a couple minds.
Blake, you want to join in?
Yeah, I mean, I think our experience being in the Bay Area is definitely different because we do kind of live in a bubble.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because to answer that other question, like, obviously everybody should take their own journey, whether they're going to say or, share their queer, if that's part of the influence to their restaurant or not. Is it really loud? There's like construction happening outside.
No, I don't hear it, so you're good.
But I wanted to lead with that. That was like very much a part of my business. That was something that I was really proud of, and really, taking all of the things that I have learned in my lifelong of working in restaurants and trying to like unlearn all of those things that I do not believe in and relearn new traditions and new standards. And by being so out there with it, you can never control what an article is going to be the title of. You can never control how they're going to market it.
Yeah.
But because a lot of, the articles around us are like queer bar, queer restaurant, queer bar, which is great. But a lot of people I have heard from feedback is that they're like, oh, well, it's not for us if they're not queer, if they're not under the umbrella.
Yeah. The first time I saw that in like black and white, I thought, oh, wow. It was like, oh, okay. And it's like, it was such a big, like, okay, let's put it on a billboard. Queer chef is opening a restaurant,
right? Which is great, but I'm also like, it doesn't mean as I believe in a queer safe space, right? I believe in our dive bars. I believe in our gay bars. I believe in our lesbian, like those are really important safe places that should be protected for the queer community. However, my bar, my restaurant is for everyone. It is a cocktail bar and it is a restaurant, and we put our queerness, we highlight it, but we had a lot of people not coming because they're like, oh, it's not for me. And I'm like, I want your money too. Don't not support us because we're queer. Don't not come to the restaurant because we're queer. And I kind of use the analogy with some people where I'm like, would you not go to a Chinese restaurant if you're not Chinese? Like, you go in, you respect the place, you take their lead, but don't not try it. Don't not see what we're about. Don't cut us off. And then on the flip side of that, as you know, straight people or non-queer identifying people come in, then the queer community gets pissed at me because they're like, why is there straight people in here?
Yeah, you're not queer enough.
Not queer enough. And I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, we all need to get along and we all need to enjoy ourselves. But it is like a constant ping-ponging of being like proud of who we are, putting that on display, and also being like kind of leading people in a little bit and being like, okay, you can come.
Well, I think sometimes people forget we're other things too. You know, it's like we're other things.
Yeah.
You know, I might be, you know, I'm queer, I'm Black, I'm a mom, you know, I'm a wife. I have all types of identifiers.
Right.
You know, so to home in on one and focus on that, especially as it relates to food and hospitality and whether or not you're going to sit down and have a great time, a good meal and a good drink. You know, there's a lot more that comes into play with that. So, yeah.
One of our concerns when we opened, and it's one of the reasons why we didn't lead with being a queer-owned restaurant, was, you know, not only do I make a livelihood out of the space, but so do my employees. So we didn't want to do anything that was going to affect their ability to be able to make money and make a living. And so we were a little concerned that if we branded ourselves as a queer restaurant from the get-go, then, you know, average Joe who lives in, let's say, Brookfield, was going to be like, well, I'm not going to go there because that place isn't for me, like she was saying. But again, I have to say, Milwaukee has been pretty amazing, and I've been pleasantly supported.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, where you at?
Hi. I don't agree that you have to like be out loud and proud. If you want to let your food speak first. I didn't intend to be a queer restaurant when we opened. It was actually intended to be a love letter to my home state of New Mexico, and it ended up being an intersectional thing, with two parts of my identity, being New Mexican and being gay. And the food media ran with it. They decided to like distinguish it as queer because my staff happened to be queer and I happen to be queer. So they did that, and I was like, okay, well, we are, so I'm not gonna deny it. Um, and also at the time that we opened, everything was closing and we needed that kind of space here. So I was like, all right, if we can be this beacon of community, then absolutely. I'm willing to be able to help to provide that kind of community. For us, we also, right when you walk in the restaurant, there's a big painting of a limp wrist like this when you walk in. And for me, it serves as a either welcome or a warning. So you know what you're walking into. Because once you get in, I don't have any rainbow flags up, but there's like little de los Muertos ornaments that are also drag queens. There's retablos that are of Selena and Whitney Houston and Amy Winehouse and Aaliyah, all these gay icons. And there's all these queer people behind the counter and in the kitchen. So you see yourself there without it being like this obvious, this like stereotypical idea of what a like gay bar is going to look like when you walk in, but also kind of demure, but also hopefully you're going to get it. It's funny when I every once in a while I'll have somebody ask me, they're like, what's that painting at the front? And I'm like, oh, you want to know?
I love that painting. I love that
When
painting.
they ask me, I feel like they already know. They just need it to be cemented for them.
So how do you guys feel like, how do queer folks find you? How do members of the community find you? Probably because somebody's broadcasting it all over in the first place. You know, I think when we do open up, for me, when I opened up my restaurant, I was more concerned with the colors scheme and that, you know, it wasn't, does the restaurant look queer enough, you know? And even now, I don't have flags all over the place just because they really don't fit into the motif, you know?
Right.
And that's what is, it's the ambiance, what I'm trying to do is more important than, you know, plastering flags and identifiers all over the place, you know? So I always think that's interesting. you know, too,
Gossip,
is
rumors, reputation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think, you know, in our community, we somewhat have our, you know, our own little, you know, conversations where we just know, you know, you just ask somebody, where should we go? Where's the places?
Mhm.
You know, and unless you're hiding out, I think pretty much everyone knows, or people know, people talk. You know, I can call up someone in a city and say, hey, I'm coming there, you know, where should I go? You know, what restaurants? And we do still have guides and magazines, you know, that are about us, for us, that, you know, luckily will tell us, you know, where's the safe havens in different places in different cities. Yeah. All right. So anything that we haven't covered, and, you know, for our listeners, please send in questions while we've got them. I know our time is starting to get a little bit low, but we've still got a little bit of time. You know, so if you've got something, hurry up, send it in to me. I think I've got like 5 or 6 more minutes or so. For me, you know, I am in Atlanta, and I've got a couple of restaurants here in Atlanta. And just like you, Blake, I started out married to a man. I had a child. I was married for quite a while and got a divorce, and was just open-minded enough. I don't think I had gay across my forehead. It's just, I had a mind open enough that I wanted to find a person who treated me well. And I was open-minded that it could come in the form of a woman. And that's where I ended up happily, you know. So me and my wife are co-owners of the restaurants, and we've been married now for 11 years. We got married before it was legal, and then here in Georgia, you know, because it took forever, because we're down south, things operate a little bit different here. And it's been a incredible journey for me, with positive and negative. You know, I even, at a point, my ex-husband tried to have my child taken away from me for the simple reason that I was dating a woman. So, you know, I've been through it, y'all. I've been through it. And I've come out, you know, on top. I'm proud of what I am. I'm proud of how I identify, and more importantly, I'm proud of the person that I am, period, across the board. You know, and I think each one of you should be proud of who you are too, because you are some amazing people, some amazing chefs. I'm glad that I got this time to have a conversation and meet you. Hope I get to meet every one of you in person. Eric, I hope we get to hook up again somewhere. Maybe we all end up in DC, Vanessa, if that works for us. That would be amazing. So I'm going to turn it, I guess, back over to Vanessa, and just thank you guys for spending a little bit of time with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I want to give everyone an opportunity to let folks know where they can find you, how they can support you, any upcoming events or things you've got going on.
Eric, go first.
Go first, Eric.
Okay. Well, ever as always this year at Ursula in Brooklyn and Bed-Stuy, morning and night. I'll also be, it hasn't been yet announced, but I'll be in LA and Beverly Hills next month, November 20th or the 24th, at the 60 Hotel for a residency.
Oh, wonderful. Greg?
You can find me behind the stove at Amelinda. So I cook every night we're open, Wednesday through Saturday. Only dinner in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Come visit us. Just don't come in the winter unless you really like cold, because it gets pretty cold here. It's 40 today. And I'm trying to think if you have anything going on. I have a couple chefs that used to work for me when I lived in the Bay Area coming out in January to cook, so we'll do that. That's about it. Just you can sign up for our newsletter. We'll have a couple dinners with some of the refugees with that program starting in January also. So hopefully, maybe some of you can come out and see us.
Blake, it's on you.
You can find me in Hawaii right now, or
We're so jealous.
usually back in Oakland, friends and family. We're open every day but Sunday. You can follow us at Friends and Family Bar on Instagram. We don't have a TikTok, but I'm sure some of my Gen Z staff will take care of that very soon. Yeah, just follow us online, see what we're up to.
And you can follow me in Atlanta at Twisted Soul Cookhouse and Pours, or Aretha's at the Point. Also, I have a new cooking show that's out. We just finished up our first season on FYI, but you can watch at your convenience on Hulu. It's streaming on Hulu, a couple more networks, called My Global Soul Kitchen. So you can look and see what I actually do for a living. You know, some of my recipes that I offer and wanted to share with the public.
Thank you to our amazing panelists. I'm a little biased because I running a queer organization. I spend a lot of time asking others if they know other queer people. And I know, Eric, I've texted many times like, hey, is this person queer or not? Because I can't find it on their website or Instagram. So I don't want to like promote people and like without. So there's my little biasy. But that being said, though, thank you everyone for your insight. It is definitely self-affirmed that I am definitely not in the brick and mortar world for a reason, and that you guys are powerhouses. So please keep doing what you're doing. On the QFF side, we have our annual queer food gift guide, like I mentioned, coming out soon. We have a few new projects with JBF as far as the equity and hospitality toolkit and workshop coming in the new year. And always, it is giving season. So please donate if you so feel inclined, because we are able to continue resources and educational series like this with your support. But I'll leave it to Shamika to close us off.
Also, hi, whoever was tuning in from New Mexico. I changed my background because it's cold here and I needed a little warmth.
Thank you all. This was a great conversation. This is recorded, so we will be housing this recording on our virtual education library at the James Beard Foundation, which is housed on our YouTube page as well as our website. So please watch this again if you joined us halfway through. Thank you again. Important conversation, and thanks for participating. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Mm.